Okay, Ethan, nice. Excellently learned and prepared. So the first thing, it says avec fantasia, fantasy, whatever it is in French there. So
Mhm.
with fantasy, right?
Right.
And
Yes.
so one of the things that I always think about whenever it says like in an improvisatory style or with fantasy or in a fantasy kind of style is that if you think about it, even in terms of improvisation, everything starts with a germ of a thought and nothing is discovered until you discover it. So, in other words, you have to pretend that you don't know what these notes are going to be because you're creating them in the moment. You're improvising, you're being sort of fantastical, and they're all coming out of the root of this A. So, the A itself can't just be an A, it can't just be a flat sound. It has to be a sound that, like, is a seed, almost like it's a seed, a pod. And in that pod, out blooms all these notes. So the first thing I want you to do is to take that A and create some kind of contour or shape. And you can do it with color, you can do it with dynamics. You just don't want to lay it out flat. And luckily, you have a fermata there, so you can do lots of different things. Or okay, give me 3 examples of what you might do with the A. Okay, great. So that your thinking is now in a great area. Okay, have fun with that. I envy you. That's really fun to practice. You're going to have some great practicing this week. Okay, now I do recommend a breath here, although you don't need to take it.
Okay.
It just depends on how you set the note up and the ambiance up. So in my 3 examples and in the examples that you played back to me, we both played this quite quickly. The next step is that we're not going to do that because we're going to go searching for those notes.
Okay.
So it'll be more like huh, oh my gosh, I'm in the middle of an A. Wow, oh look, the sun is shining, there's a rainbow over there. Wow, I kind of like A, right? And then, but now I'm moving into a G sharp. Oh, and there's an A again. And oh, there's a B sharp. And then it starts to unravel. And you want to set it up so that as you progress through this series of notes, it's kind of like it starts to cascade, kind of like a ball bouncing down the stairs. So it has this really organic shape of growing and not nothing that's just regimented. So in order to do that, what I want you to think about is this C sharp right here. It's going to be like a rung on the ladder. So you start on the A, da, 2, 3, 4, grab 2, 3, 4, grab 2, 3, 4, grab 2, 3, 4, grab 2, 3, 4, da. And this last group will only have one rung. The G sharp will be the rung on your ladder here. And then this G sharp will be the rung on your ladder. But on the way up, you've got all these other ones. And
Okay.
they start to become compressed. They start to become compressed as they go along. Now, of the 3 examples that you gave me, I think I like the second one the best
Me too.
because it kind of shifted out of the chord here.
Hmm.
And I think that's what you want. I think you want to just kind of have your A sort of emerge out of the harmonic series of the piano. And then when you bloom on the A, try not to shove the vibrato into the A. Try not to like make the A strident. Just make the A just sort of bloom. Don't go past your body dynamic. Don't go past the dynamic of the moment. So let's try the whole thing again up to this G sharp.
Okay.
Yeah, how did that feel?
Yeah, that felt a lot better, especially the rungs.
Yeah, and so really the rungs are kind of hub points, but they can also be like mental points. They can be aural points that you're listening for those pitches. They can be points where your fingers connect with the vibration of the instrument. And if you have all of that lined up, then they become very powerful because it's like this multi-layer sense of everything coming together in these moments of these notes. So the only thing I would say to change it to make it even better is I would go into a more question mark kind of sound. So you have the A slip out, the A blooms, and then the A moves into sort of a question. Okay, don't let it die completely, but just kind of turn the A around. And then when you come back in on the G sharp, start to kind of be more quiet and be slower and more deliberate before you speed this up. And then make your crescendo happen right on the last three notes before the G sharp.
Okay.
And then this time keep going. Okay, I just thought that was enchanting, especially the part that we just developed. I mean, that was just so beautiful.
Thank you.
Like it's like night and day. You should listen to your first version and you should listen to this one. Like, whoa! So excellent. Now, the question for you would be, how do you take the concepts that we explored here and how do you continue to develop them? And so when you have these types of figures where the note they turn on themselves, right? Dia, 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 dia. You know, what can you do with them? Well, the main thing is like how you handle the compression again, the negative space, the silence. It looks like there's no silence here because you don't see a rest anywhere.
Yeah.
But there's silence between every single one of these gestures, potentially. There's relative silence, okay? There's the yang and there's the yin. And the yang is like the jap, jap, jap. And the yin is sort of like what happens in that space. And so what I hear you doing is I hear you playing it very kind of compressed and very rigidly. And so you lose all of this fantasy that you've drawn us into and suddenly we're like no longer there. So active release. Active release. Then ask a question. You know, so that each one has a bit of a character. Then like you're falling down the stairs. Active release. But this time it's more frenetic. It has a different character. It's not whimsical. It's more demanding. And then you ask a question. And then you wait for the answer. And that's the yin. I was talking about the little like moment of yin in the yang. Okay, so that was a lot of information, but give it a whirl. Why don't you take it from this G sharp? What do you think?
That felt a lot more expressive. I liked the space. I hadn't thought about the negative space yet.
Yeah, it was so good. All right, I have three little more tidbits for you.
Okay.
The first one is when you arrive on this G sharp down here, try to take with you the energy that you arrived at on this G sharp
Okay.
because it was fabulous. You had us like, we were like on a cliffhanger, right? Or like fingers were hanging off a cliff. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And then you start to bounce down the cliff and the little rock is rolling down, right? Or it's a snowball with like hands and legs coming out of it like they do in cartoons.
Hmm.
So the snowball's going down and then it lands. Ta-da! It needs to have the same intensity as this G sharp. I think you took your vibrato back, you took your color back, and you took the dynamic back. Try to keep it the same. And then here, I would connect these more in terms of quiet, the sort of negative space. I would actually reduce it. I'd play this a little more connected and um, maybe legato is the right word, but not disjunct. Like up here, it's okay to flip it. Here, I think you need to just plow your way forward with a big, rich sound,
Okay.
and then really shock us at the very end here with the opposite. Okay? Let me see if I can blow this thing up and read it. So, and then a really big color change here. And I would like slip in on that E sharp. And here, so you're going to start the note really quietly. You're going to shape it, put a little shimmer on it so that we know it's still there. And then you're just going to like pull the note back. Go ahead and just try the plus lent, the little last section here. Take it from this G sharp. Okay, what's the quietest you can play this E sharp? Let me hear it by itself. Yeah, keep the pitch up. Try it again. Good. Now let me hear you play this A louder than that, but still in the same family. A little more quiet. Good. Now let me hear the two notes next to each other with a breath between. Beep, breathe. Ah. Okay, you need to work on that. That's challenging, isn't it?
Yeah.
Make sure you come in with your belly, right? It's not your tongue that releases the note. It's like the energization of the breath. Try it once more. Get your lips more forward and imagine the sound that you want here. Okay, create a tonal image, and if you have that in your mind, your body will find a way to make it.
Okay.
Good, better. Now go from this G sharp. So this is going to be intense and loud, but not as loud as this one.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how you could fall into a vortex here, right?
Uh,
I mean, this is like amazing. Let's see. So you have. It's really stunning. It's so beautifully written for the flute. You have to be willing to go into smoky land here. Let's try it once more. You're so close. Take
Okay.
it from here, Ethan. Remember, this has to be really vibrant and this has to be more connected, and then you start to break it apart here.
Okay.
Okay, it's headed in the right direction. I would ask yourself, how long can I play this note?
Okay.
And I would answer it by playing it for a long time. Uh, and then finding where the tasteful zone is. Remember that a note can still sound if nobody hears it. And that would be something for you to keep exploring. I don't know what you can hear in Zoom, but for example, that's where I lifted it, where my hand went like this.
Okay.
Were you able to hear it a little bit or no?
Unfortunately, it cut out a little bit, but I could
Yeah,
tell that you were still
I'm
playing.
I'm devastated to hear that because I worked really hard to do a good job. Okay, but that's the idea. Like you might even try it. In fact, try it yourself. Play just a G sharp, and I want to see you conduct the shape of the note. Show me where the vibrato is going to come in. Just come up to the video camera. You don't need to. Yeah, and then just kind of like shimmer, and then show me where your release is. Like literally, but I don't. I hardly want you to even be able to hear the note.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can be bigger. Like you're literally conducting. I don't know, a flute choir. Try it again. Exactly. Isn't that fun to do?
Yeah.
Kind of magical. It's really fun. All the kinds of things you can do on a Friday night when everybody else is partying and you're a music major.
Yeah.
Okay. So really develop the rest of this in the same manner, except that this is all going to be more compressed. That's why you want to be so extreme the first time around. These rungs on the ladder are going to feel heavy and they feel like spread out the first time. And this feels more spread out and more silence. But the reason you set it up that way is because guess what? You have to do it again, and it would be very boring to do it the same way. You got to give yourself somewhere to work. So all of this becomes a little more compressed the second time, and this is even more fantastical and more interesting the second time. You really have to come up with something different. I want to correct one thing that you did that I just remembered. Try not to snap these off. It's not dia dia dia. It's diam 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 diam, especially down in here.
Okay.
Okay, we have like a minute or so, a couple more minutes for another spot where we